So Ryan is asking, can one of you please explain why the perennial powerhouse teams never travel to their out-of-conference games unless it's to another semi-powerhouse? It pretty much comes down to numbers and purpose and mission, and there's got to be a motivation. And why would Ohio State, for example, travel to
Eastern Michigan?
Eastern Michigan. Why would they do? Nobody's going to make any money. They don't need to do it. They only have so many non-conference slots. It's only 3 if you play in the Big 12 or the Pac-12 or the Big 10. There's just no money in it, no attraction to it. And if the team's actually decent or good, then you run the risk of possibly being upset, and there's no possible payoff there, financially or on the field.
Teams like Ohio State don't do it because they don't have to do it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's can't put it any simpler than that. There's no reason to do it whatsoever. They're not going to the $1.3 million or whatever that Ohio State's paying out to non-cons to come in for just these one-off games. That kind of program like an EMU is not going to be able to pay Ohio State $1.3 million. There's just no reason. I mean, that's why you sometimes see like Ohio State's deal with Cincinnati being like a 3-for-1 or 4-for-1. You may get some deals like that to try and sweeten the pot, but you just don't do that because there's no need to, and it's not about being equitable or parity. This is a business. You got to make money. Ohio State has 36 different sports it funds. It's not going to have it very long if it's sitting there making trips to go play at Akron.
Well, if like Eastern Michigan, I don't know what they seat, like 20,000 or something, pays Ohio State $1.3 million, and they probably don't make that money back. But then also, now there's no rowing, now there's no baseball. Now you probably have to cancel 3 sports just to get Ohio State to come to your stadium and beat you 70-0. So it's not exactly a great investment, and that's why you won't see that, and you shouldn't see that.
Yeah, it's all economics, and I guess I would like to explore more of that economic side of college football. And we know Ohio State's got a $200 million budget or whatever it is now, and again, it's going to be impacted heavily if they can't have 100,000 people at their home games this year. It's going to be impacted tremendously. But again, I just look at it and I say, this is kind of the way that makes sense for the major college schools and even for the mid-major schools. And we wish we had better non-conference matchups. And I guess anymore, you're lucky if your favorite team plays one quality non-conference team each year.
So between Anthony Lightfoot, he wants more athletic linebackers on the field. No, Borland doesn't want to see him. We've addressed that in the past. Also, Tim Chados in regards to the running back position maybe being the most worrisome on the field. Kevin, take your selection, maybe both if you'd like, linebacker, running back. Again, we're talking about maybe the best team in the country. The weak links are only so weak, but would those be the 2?
I'm not that concerned about running back, to be honest, unless there's just a wave of relapse injuries that happen. I think that if you take it at face value that out of the 3 knee injuries that Ohio State is dealing with, and one of them being Trey Sermon, who's come in, and saying 2 of them are going to be fine, I think all 3 are going to be fine by mid-September at worst. I think that's going to be a position of strength, whether or not it's Master Teague coming out as your first guy, or it's Trey Sermon, or it's a true platooning there. I mean, we had the opportunity to see Marcus Crowley look really good in a support role last year before he got injured. I mean, nobody really knows what Steel Chambers is going to be able to do. We didn't get to see a lot of him, and then of course there's true freshman Mayan Williams, who we had an opportunity to see on Monday walking in, and he's certainly done a good job of reshaping his body. So. I'll end my little thing on running back by saying that's not a position that I'm concerned about. I think the biggest concern is Ohio State seems to do better when it settles on a guy, and I think it may be difficult for them to settle on a guy at that position because we've seen plenty of backs, J.K. Dobbins being one of them, who's a lot stronger on carries 14 through 19 than he is on 4 through 9. So you need to be sure to give these guys, ample opportunity.
Yeah, I'm not concerned about the running back situation other than the fact that you've got so many guys who have been injured in the past. And now individually, I think they have 6 guys who could rush for 1,000 yards with 175 carries, and that includes DeMario McCall, who floats back and forth between AH and running back. But I think there's enough guys there that of the 6, there's 3 that will be productive. And I'm still not convinced that Marcus Crowley isn't the best of them all. And we're only just starting to see the beginnings of him. But to go back, I'll always have to chime in on the Tough Borland stuff, because it was Baron Browning that was getting outdistanced by Trevor Lawrence last year in that game. So let's not forget that. There's something to be said for being at the right place at the right time. Tough Borland does that quite a bit. Is he the fastest guy? No. Baron Browning's supposed to be pretty fast. Ran into 4.4s, 4.5s in high school, but I saw Trevor Lawrence pulling away from him. So, yeah, 2 different linebacker coaches now have put Tough Borland in that lineup based on practice, based on production, based on leadership, based on knowing where he should be, based on, he's a captain as well. So the bashing of Tough Borland, no, he's not the best player ever. Nobody on this team is, except for maybe Justin Fields.
Agree with everything the guys just said. And the only thing that troubles you about running back in my mind is you don't have J.K. Dobbins, who was a proven 2-year starter, 2,000-yard rusher last year. You don't have that one go-to guy, and that can be distressing, I think, at times for a coaching staff to not know, okay, who is our baseline guy? And they don't really have that right now, with Teague being questionable and Sermon. Even when he was healthy last year, he didn't have the kind of spark that maybe he had shown earlier in his career at Oklahoma. So the jury is out on Chambers and Crowley. Will Crowley be healthy? Mayan Williams, big-time high school guy down in Cincinnati. Will that translate to the college level? And then you have DeMario McCall, who they turned to in an emergency, it seemed, a couple of years ago. I think it was Maryland. He got to play quite a bit when Weber sat out and has never really been a ball carrier. So he's kind of a X factor and would seem to be way down the list. But, until you know what you have, what do you really have? So I guess we'll have to wait and see how that shakes out in preseason camp.
I'd be interested to see, imagine JT Barrett is the quarterback of this offense and Urban Meyer is still the head coach. How many carries a game would JT Barrett be getting with all of these running backs when there is no J.K. Dobbins? You have no one guy that you can rely on except for JT Barrett. And now you're probably talking about 200 carries for him.
A game.
It's crazy.